So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and I'm just here at the ancient monastery of Buddhagala and thought to record a shorter wada for the internet so that they could start with just a little meditation so we can lean forward a bit and arch the spine and look about 3 feet in front and close our eyes. And can focus in on the breath, can know when it's coming in and know when it's going out. If we breathe in a long breath, can just know I'm breathing in a long breath. And if we breathe in a short breath, can just know I'm breathing in a short breath. And can focus in on the breath at the tip of the nose. And if notice any patterns of tension or tightness around the nose, around the face, can just let those relax. And can relax any patterns of tension around the cheeks, around the chin. And can focus in on the breath at the tip of the nose. And can just pose the question in one's mind, what would be a really comfortable way to breathe right now? And then one can just let the body respond on its own. And if the mind wanders off, you can just bring it back again. And when we bring the mind back, can reward it with an especially comfortable breath. And before we finish meditating, can spread thoughts of goodwill, wishing may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make the mind infinite, can make it unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. And can open our eyes and do a short Ovada for the internet. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Ditiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Ditiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Ditiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. So hope that everybody's keeping well wherever might be. And came down here to Budugala. Again, it looked like it was about to rain, but thankfully never happened. And so a few days ago now, I was watching kind of a YouTube live stream of it was called the Celebration of Life of one of my first meditation teachers. Did some posts about him a few weeks back, who passed away August 6th. And they had a kind of celebration of life for him, and a lot of people came. It was really nice to see. The whole room was filled, and saw some kind of friends, old friends, Buddhist friends from way back when. And even my first meditation teacher was there, so I saw him on the screen. So that was really nice to see. And it was a very well constructed ceremony. They actually only planned to watch it for an hour because it started at 11:30 p.m. but ended up actually watching the whole thing, which was 2.5 or 3 hours because it was very well done. But basically watching the whole thing. And so there was one student of the teacher. The teacher's name was Sunim. We called him Sunim. And her name is, she's called Haju Sunim. And she had this really good talk about her time with him. Said that instead she was with him for 40 plus years, something like this. But instead of kind of giving a history, she just chose like 4 or 5 or 6 moments, these kind of like snapshots of her life with him, and kind of delved in and gave like this picture of these 4 or 5 moments. A lot of the presentations were really excellent and nice to listen to, but that one was quite nice. It was kind of interesting because sometimes the really significant times in a person's life, they're not like encapsulated with explosions, or like necessarily like a big bang. Sometimes when those times pass, one tends to remember them. They tend to come up in the mind in these series of moments. Kind of one, if somebody passes away, or somebody who is really significant in one's life exits one's life somehow, then sometimes just unbidden these kind of moments come up in the mind. Things that you wouldn't even think about. Sitting in front of a store, or some light on the carpet, or something like this, kind of, the light from a window shining on it, something like this. Just random things can come up in the mind. Sometimes that might happen to one too when one's meditating, just these random memories that somehow are stored back there. One of the interesting things about this is that for myself as well, he was one of my first meditation teachers and was a really significant person in my life. But of course at these times it doesn't really seem that significant. A lot of the time it's just this kind of everyday things, kind of cleaning the floor and sweeping and shoveling snow. Waking up. It's kind of a routine, kind of doing work, doing construction work, and these different kind of things. It's kind of a normal routine. But somehow when that period has passed, look back, that was quite significant. Something really significant was happening there. So when one goes to train as a monk, one would think that teachers would look for a person who maybe could explain Buddhist doctrine really, really well. Like they can explain the really fine points about the suttas or the Vinaya or whatever it might be. or maybe they're really, really diligent and they don't talk to people much, and they can do these kind of things. But usually what people actually look for, what teachers in monasteries look for in the ideal candidates, is people who can basically just simply do the thing that the community is doing. People who can simply follow the routine that the community is doing every day. And part of the reason for this is that a lot of the training that one does in changing one's mind, in trying to grow in wholesome qualities and diminish in unwholesome qualities, it's a gradual training, this kind of gradual wearing away. The Buddha gives this simile of an adze handle. There's a carpenter's apprentice is just always using this adze every day, kind of hammering away at something or whatever it might be. And they can't say so much of the handle is worn away today, so much wore away yesterday. But when their fingerprints appear on the adze, they know. And when the adze is totally worn through, they also know that for themselves. So a lot of the time when one is training the mind or trying to move forward in Buddhist practice in this way, it's something really significant. All the suttas, all the teachers kind of remind that the opportunity to practice is something really significant. But actually when one is doing it, when one is kind of going through and practicing meditation, giving dana or keeping sila, it just seems like something normal. It doesn't seem like anything too earth-shattering. It doesn't seem like anything that great. So, or maybe not that great, but anything that, incredibly significant all the time. So, remember there's this, when I was growing up, there was this song, it was like, it was saying like, oh, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. It was all about this kind of how they had this movie theater and they paved it down and tore it down and made a parking lot out of it. And so the theme of the song was, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Part of the reason for this is that when one goes through one's life, when really significant things are happening, when really excellent things are happening in one's life, sometimes it's not like this really big explosion. The people in our life who are really helping us, who are really caring for us, who are really there for us, sometimes it doesn't seem like the most dynamic, incredible thing one does, or the most dynamic, incredible thing that they're doing. It's kind of, one's parents are a classic example. It's very kind of easy to forget how significant one's parents are. But the Buddha, he gives a sutta which basically compares parents to Brahma. It says, the people are with the first teachers, they dwell with Brahma, where at home the parents are respected by their children. And there's basically two people one can't really repay, unless one teaches them the Dhammas, their mother and their father, because they've done so much for one. So one of the interesting things about that is that, of course, the things that a parent does for one, teaching one how to walk, teaching one how to, all these very minor things, use a bathroom, they don't seem that significant at the time. It's kind of, it may not even be that fun to do some of these things. But the thing that the parents provide, they're there every single day. It's kind of, they're there for one. Even when one grows up, they're there for one. So one needs to actually sometimes train the mind to become more sensitive, to become a connoisseur of these types of situations and these types of people, to become a connoisseur of the things that are really significant, but that start small and grow large, bit by bit by bit. To become a connoisseur of the small gifts that people are giving, or the gifts that people are giving that are unsaid or unspoken. Some of the most significant gifts that people give is just this gift that they're there, that they're stable. And this stability isn't something that's always so easy to recognize. Sometimes the most significant people in our life who, when they go, we realize, oh, this time I had with that person, that was really significant. They were a really excellent person. It's often not so much the case because they did, some incredibly spectacular thing for one, in a big bang at one flash, although it might be the case. It's usually these people who were just there steadily, over the course of a formative period of time, or there steadily over a long period of time. And so they were there when some really difficult times happened, and they were there for that. And they were there after that. And they were basically just there in the background, ready to help. And if you needed help, they were there. So this kind of thing is something that's not always so easy to recognize, because it's a bit like the air that a person breathes. It's a bit like the water that a person drinks. One doesn't, kind of walking around, one isn't really thinking about the air. I was kind of, thinking about the water that one drinks. Sometimes one may, but, walking through the course of the day, one has a whole lot of other things on the mind. It's kind of whatever it might be. It's not really like air. Air is just there. Breathing is just happening. But if the air goes away, then one immediately recognizes how important it is, how significant it is, how special it is, and how lucky one is to have it. The kind of good, clean air that one can breathe. So sometimes the most special periods in one's life are like this. It's not necessarily like there's big bangs, although there may be from time to time. But it's more like there's this period where there was this growth happening, this formative period, this period where there was change. And there's often one person, two people, some people who are there behind it, who are there supporting it, who are there helping it happen. So one of the interesting things about the suttas on the parents is that, about the Buddha's teachings on parents is that if a person actually kills one's parents, there's nothing that can save them from going to hell. It's kind of, it's an irreparable karma. And, there was one monk who killed like more than 1,000 people. He still became an arhat. But if you kill your parents, it's so serious that you go to hell no matter what. You're totally blocked. So even killing 1,000 people doesn't count towards killing one's parents. So one of the principles behind this, what the Buddha describes, is that the reason one's parents are so significant is because of how much they help one. And so one can kind of extrapolate from that to the people who help one in one's life as well. It's kind of, there's a karmic bond, or there's a karmic relationship that gets formed with people who are there for one during the difficult times, who were the people who were around, who were steady and who were stable, who were helping one to do these things that were small that grew large, these things that were so significant. And so when one tries to keep this in mind, it's kind of not always something easy. It's very easy to take the air that we breathe for granted until it's gone. It's very easy to take the water that one drinks for granted until it's gone. But if one keeps this in mind, then one can give these people, one can give these situations, these times of training the proper significance and give them the proper attention. Because like anything, if they're not given the proper attention, if they're not given the proper significance, then they fade away and they disappear. And that's when we have this kind of refrain from the song. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. It's kind of I think he said they take paradise and put up a parking lot. In other words, they knocked down this movie theater and put up a parking lot. Didn't realize what a significant thing in his life this movie theater was till they knocked it down. So when one comes to train the mind in line with meditation, when one goes to a monastery, this is the kind of thing that one can learn from one's teacher. Is kind of the importance of this kind of gradual training and kind of gradually growing in wholesome qualities bit by bit. One can also come to learn through training these people who are like this, these people who are like the air we breathe, these people who are like the water we drink. Everybody has them in their life. Everybody has people like this or has had people like this. And giving them back the things that they've given us back is something that may not seem like all that flashy at the time. And kind of one's parents get sick and one tries to be there to care for them. Or people who've really helped one tries to show them the proper care and show them the proper attention. And these kind of bit by bit. It's kind of not in a big flash, but over a long period of time. Now, this is the kind of thing that can give the mind quite a lot of ease, quite a lot of peace. And of course the opposite is true. If one neglects one's duty, doesn't do that, probably most people have an experience of that, where they've forgotten about people who are really good to them. And that's something that can be very painful, bring a lot of remorse. So best thing to do is to train one's mind to recognize the people and the situations who are like that, and to give them the appropriate attention so that they can grow. And these situations are the ones, sometimes the most formative periods of our life. They get encapsulated in these few moments. It's kind of, somehow maybe the mind thinks in metaphors a little bit, don't know. But it takes a period of a person's life or a time with significant people and breaks it down to these moments that one wouldn't even think about. Kind of, crossing the street, or, sitting on a couch, or doing meditation, or these very small things that encapsulate something that's much larger and much greater. So when a person becomes good at this, they become a person who's a support. It's kind of one of the nice things about seeing this ceremony was seeing like how many lives that they call it samosunim, how many lives he touched. This kind of he apparently had a vow to spread Buddhism through North America or help spread Buddhism. And seeing all the people who he'd helped through his life was something really inspiring. So long as one continues to grow in these wholesome qualities that are steady, to grow in these wholesome qualities that are good, to make oneself stable, that's something that also affects other people around one. That's something that also helps other people around one, because when one is stable in oneself, then other people can lean on one. And one is stable enough to provide a support. And it's kind of these things that the Buddha taught, the giving dana and keeping sila and practicing meditation, when one is doing them day by day, they don't necessarily seem like that significant. I meditated 10 minutes today. I gave a dana at the temple, or today I didn't. Maybe sila is one of the best examples. I didn't do this today. It's kind of very very hard to chalk that up to something being really super significant. But over the course of time, when one looks back, and one sees the kind of changes that occur in one's life, and kind of tries to grow in the Dhamma in this way, one realizes just how significant it is, how significant the opportunity is to practice the Buddha's teachings, how significant it is to try to do good and try to refrain from wrong and to purify the mind, because this is the teaching of all Buddhas. And it's something very, very special, something very, very excellent. And so something that we can become connoisseurs of, something that we can come to appreciate and make it grow for the sake of trying to find an end to suffering. Okay, so leave that for reflection, and wishing everybody all the blessings of Dhamma practice.